without any lead in or any news headlines from announcers. We're here with John Bond and Jason Gitamura on Friday, and happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. How
Happy
you guys
Friday.
doing?
Good.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
man. Sun's shining.
absolutely. I know you've been going around to a bunch of different cannabis events and all over the world of cannabis, and you got a huge May coming up. But what what was this week like for Mr. John Bond?
The last couple weeks have been crazy. It was really exciting. Was in Benzinga in Miami for Benzinga Capital Conference last week, and all these events kind of have like a different vibe. Obviously, Capital Conference a little more formal. There's a lot of companies there trying to raise money. Guys are running into several of our investors and larger customers, and that was a really cool vibe to experience. This week has been catch up, knowing that I'm leaving for Hall of Flowers next week, which is an entirely different vibe. Equally cool. Probably more cool if you ask me. I just truly appreciate the cannabis culture forward stuff. Not that
Absolutely.
money isn't cool, but some of us are here for money. Some of us are here because we love the plant. So another exciting installment of Hall of Flowers. Super stoked on that. And then the week following is the Green Street Festival in downtown Los Angeles, first of its kind.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Gonna be cool, man. But yeah, it's a lot of big things happening, man, especially with policy and some different competing bills on the floor. There's a lot of exciting things in the air right now.
Absolutely. And you're talking about different events and that kind of thing. And a couple of the things we're here to talk about today is, it's about to close out, but you can still submit cannabis goods to the California State Fair as of right now. And it's going to be featured in the fair. As well as we're going to be talking about California farmers here and another event space where they're talking about allowing smaller farmers that farm under an acre to participate in farmers markets and get that DTC or direct to customer advantage, of which I know from a lot of the smaller farmers we've talked to about this are really getting behind it. So
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. There's some folks that are kind of grumbling about it, and I have a lot of respect for Elliot from Catalyst, CEO. He's really good about calling out some of the things that people are afraid to talk about in the space. And any retailer that's upset about farmers being able to do a farmers market and the small farmers, no one's taking anything out of anyone's pockets, right? Most people are living in a padded room there. At the farmers market, it's really ability for the small farmers and the legacy growers that built this industry to have an opportunity to keep the lights on and also showcase their product, and people can go visit and talk about it. It's not that high pressure dispensary sales environment, right? And so I couldn't be more excited for that. I hope they make that happen.
Right. Well, Jason and I'm trying to get a couple of these press passes to the events you're talking about, but when it comes down to those small farmers, it's a high ticket item for them. Getting involved in that type of thing it's costly, and so to be able to showcase at a smaller event where it's not such a buy-in fee and you're not having to compete with the larger brands and that kind of stuff seems to make a lot of sense.
Totally.
But yeah, Jason, what do you think about it? I know the article seems a little misleading to me on that one in particular. The farmers markets, they put it around as farmers markets, but they denote it as a temporary cannabis licensed event. And then they go on to ask people about, what would you think about having cannabis here at your farmers market?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? You think it's
there's a lot of news organizations that are covering the same story, and it's kind of funny because the ones that are kind of taking it more seriously, more for the industry, they're showing it as an opportunity for the small farmers, but then all the rest of them are kind of the title is pot sellers are coming to your farmers markets and stuff like that. So I think it's they're just trying to get some eyeballs and get some attention from just families that are going to their farmers market every weekend. It's like, oh, we're gonna have stoners coming into these events now. That's just a stirring the pot a little bit, but so to speak. But but I mean, realistically, I'm assuming there's probably some of these already put together, but do you think that there's going to be a lot more pop-ups of actual farmers market that are cannabis centric that are going to come up to try to facilitate some of these events? And that'd be pretty interesting.
If they pass it, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, and you know what's so funny, and this is why, because the clickbait thing makes me always giggle a little bit with like the
Yeah.
taglines, and it's like, if you think for a I live in Oregon, I say this all the time. If you think for a second that there weren't already stoners at your farmer's market, you're watching a different movie. You know what I mean? I know those are my kinds of people. When I'm up there and everyone's hanging out and there's people playing bongo drums, it's a good vibe. Like, stoners have been hanging at farmers markets for a very long time. It's just a matter of being able to sell cannabis there legally is the only change.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that's it's funny because, you know, we're over here and we're California, we're in Oregon, and we're talking about this. But as Little Mac 86 alluded to, you know, again, cannabis products at a fair. This is mind blowing at times. I mean, even for us here in California, the last time I went to a fair, you know, there's 4F projects, there's different things that you could judge, there's that kind of thing. But essentially, you know, it's never been cannabis, you know, at a state fair like that. And yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I actually talked to those guys. Yeah, I talked to them
Oh,
a
you
couple
did?
weeks ago. Yeah,
Nice.
they're and you know what's funny is, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to be a part of it this year because it's pretty short notice, but like they've had like 3x the traffic to the Cannabis State Fair website that the actual state fair website is getting, which is rad. So like, and they're like, we don't know what, like, and maybe they're just like being humble, but they're like, you know, we don't know if we just caught the right stream with SEO or whatever, but like, it is like obnoxiously higher volume of traffic to the Cannabis State Fair, which I think also shows people's appetite for that sort of thing. You know,
especially
only
here
in California. Totally.
It's ingrained in the culture, right? And
totally.
shoot, to be a food truck vendor at today's this, you know, cannabis, excuse me, the county fair coming up, the food sales are going to be off the hook.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good strategic play because, you know, I think Cultivar Brands is one of the main partners of it that's kind of putting it together, and you know, they're known for kind of facilitating the travel aspect of it, and it's the whole kind of, hey, come to California because we've got cannabis, basically, and this is, I think they're really kind of double downing on this being the showcase for that aspect. You know, like being in the state fair, having a cannabis competition is like the loudest thing you can say to say, hey, we welcome cannabis, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
A Can of Curious crowd, bridging the gap. You know what I mean? It's like, and every day I think there's more folks that are more inclined to, we're not even saying you have to consume cannabis, just stop, you know, quit demonizing it and making it seem like it's something that it's not, you know, and that's really the first realistic step in that side of things. And as we continue to get there, I think it's going to keep getting better and better.
Absolutely. You know, and this is right here between, it's the small farmer is somebody who's talked about less and less, and it's unfortunate because, you know, earlier in the week and earlier today at the Buzz, one of the bigger topics we were talking about was New Jersey's rules and not allowing for home grow, and what an atrocity that is, and what the politicians think they're doing with this. But again, it's these seemingly little nuances that rule other people's lives with this, and whether you be a medical patient that can't afford the $480 an ounce, you know, and you want to grow your own, or you're a small farmer up in NorCal and you're fighting, you know, to stay alive while we're going through another drought season and having to pay, you know, obscene distribution charges on top of the ridiculous taxes here. People are getting forgot about, you know, and these are, so I can bring this stuff up because again, you know, I know that here at TRICHOMES, it's what we're about. And John, I know you've always had propensity for the little guy as well as the people who are getting forgot about. And that's
Totally.
one of the next subjects we're going to bring up. But yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and bringing that up, you know, a little segue into that. You know, this last week we had our first presidential pardons. We had someone get on the mic and say these people are no longer thought of as criminals, or something like that. I'm not sure how much you got into that, John. What do you think about
it? You know what? It's the first. It's the very first you know, time that without naming people specifically, that folks in the current administration have lived up to promises they made while campaigning. Right. So in that instance, I think it's a great first step. Right now, there's clearly 40,000 people that are still in prison right now for nonviolent cannabis crimes. Right. So there's a lot of work to be done there. But I think you've heard me say this before. I think the gesture is great that like we're starting to move in that direction. I hope that that means there's more like holistic change coming that's going to impact a larger group of people. Truly hope it's not a press and publicity stunt because people got tired of being called a liar for not doing the things they said they were going to do.
Right.
But until like if it's followed up in the next like 60 days with another presidential pardon of another equally sized or larger group of folks, then that tells me that they're doing diligence on the actual crimes committed and maybe whatever else. And then it will feel better to me. But I can tell you right now that if this is the only thing that happens over the next calendar year, file that away under the political stunts pulled in that side of it, at least from my opinion, right? Clearly that's just
placating,
mine, but
yeah. Well, placating the little people, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's just a drop in the bucket compared to what really needs to be done. But then again, like you were saying, I don't think he's executed his pardon abilities yet as president. So I mean, this being the first time, and even though it's only 70, I guess it is a gesture in the right direction. But yeah, there's a lot more work that needs to be done for sure if he's actually going to fulfill his promise that he mentioned when he was running.
Well, to call one thing, and Jason, I'll throw this at you first, is the couple of pardons that I saw, nothing really had to do with cannabis, and then the commutations from what I can read is it had to do with people who were already out and released, right? So while it is fantastic and life changing for all of these people, is like, did he actually do anything, or were these people out because of COVID? I'm getting a couple different sources on that, and realistically, no one, from what I'm understanding, was released yet. It was more so these people are already out because of COVID situations, and might as well stay out there. What do you think?
Yeah, there was, I guess, a lot of the nonviolent drug charges. There was a group of them that were released to ask for home arrest, because of COVID. That was the reason. So again, yeah, they're already out there. It wasn't really much difference as just take the ankle bracelet out.
Is that for sure defined like that? That's 100% true. Like there wasn't actually anybody actually let out of prison.
I don't know if it's not any. It was just
Okay.
in the articles that we kind of took a look at. They were mentioning that a lot of them were already out. Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. It would be.
Yeah.
I haven't read that far up on it, admittedly. That's disheartening if that's the case. But I'll reserve my judgment until I do my homework. I always I see the way that people sound off about things socially, and so I try to make sure that I at least research things prior to me forming a strong opinion one way or another. But in general, man, I'm just always in favor of moving things forward, right? But I'm also equally not a fan of the masquerade of the appearance of moving things forward either, because it's not like anybody's stupid. Nobody doesn't see what's going on there in that instance. Right. Like it's not, you should be thankful for this isn't something that I've really ever had a strong appetite for on that type of side.
Well, the one positive I will throw at it is that they involved Weldon Angelos in their press regards, and he put out a couple tweets about it, and he seems to be a proponent of what's going on, and as somebody that was formerly incarcerated and then pardoned by the Trump administration, he's someone that I hope we can look at as somebody who would value what that step is, and I think he was calling it a good first step. But then again, you have other advocates in our arena saying, you know what, it's kind of just the low hanging fruit, and well, not even so low. It's fallen off the tree already because they were already out of jail. So, but again, you got to start somewhere, right?
Totally. Well, and the other piece of that too is you think about other things, and you think about now like the safe banking and being able to bank as a cannabis company is now on both sides of the floor, right? From like the Republican and Democrat side. There is potentially the scenario where, and again, this is from somebody that's not, exactly the most familiar. I'm no Steve Hawkins, to put it that way, right? But this could be, a first step and a gesture, knowing that once safe banking and actual cannabis regulation is passed and signed into effect, that it makes it far easier to make that universal pardon business case for it, to where there's going to be less blowback about it. That's maybe a little wishful thinking, but I think there could also be that scenario as well too. But you never know. It's kind of depending on which bill is going to end up making it through. But either way, it's one of those things where it's like, we'll find out in the next 12 months.
Right. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed on that one.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, when it comes down to that next part, we have some friends at 40 tons and LPP, and we've been working at that. We'll have to see if we can get some comments from them. But I imagine, even though they're on the front lines, a lot of it's still going to be the wait and see part. Wait and see what the follow through is like. And so, yeah,
Totally.
that's the interesting part. Let's see here. Well, as I've been going through the week, we've been going through the buzz, and there's a lot of news. Arizona broke some big tax milestones as far as cannabis tax overtook alcohol and tobacco combined. But really, the discussion there is, well, are we being taxed too much on it, or does that say, are being taxed at the same rate and they're just selling that much more? Do you have any insight on that, John? That's actually a relevant story.
Yeah. Again, I hadn't had a chance to read up on as much. To tell you, it's not surprising. It's funny. Most people don't realize that Arizona, even prior to adult use, was one of the busiest medical cannabis states in the country. I know personally, like, we've worked with dispensaries in Arizona for better part of 4 years now. And while like rec sales obviously improved that bottom line, which is what made possible what you just mentioned right there, they were already like a top 5-6 state in terms of like gross merchandise volume passing through at least our platform, right? And obviously everyone else's too. Those dispensaries are busy. Well, it's the second longest standing cannabis program in the country, believe it or not, right behind California. So it's one of those things where it's like, that's the proof of, if you're South Dakota, right, and you got your one shop open, but you wanted to go straight to rec and you haven't set the infrastructure and business case with medical, you're really like trying to like build the rocket ship as it's leaving the atmosphere there. Versus like Arizona. Now, not everyone has 13 years to build up a medical cannabis program, but like Arizona had the medical program for that amount of time. Infrastructure was set, business case was made. People had the opportunity to go and sign up for medical cards. And then all of a sudden rec happens and it's an entirely different scenario. So, I think there's really probably some more obvious things to look at in terms of like, if you're another state that's looking at how can we replicate the success that happened here? Because ideally, like, more tax revenue for the state goes to the schools, goes law enforcement, whatever it is, right? And there's one of those things where it's like, the thing that they did well that most other states neglect to do is they made it very easy to become a patient without like the hoops you have to jump through. It's not like it's crazy expensive to get a medical card in Arizona, right? Whereas like other states, like where I'm from, very expensive, right? And that's like a huge deterrent. It's like conversion rates and shopping carts when you think about like e-commerce world, right? You lose people at that certain inflection point, and almost always it's the difficulty to be a part of the program, and then the availability of those products is like as a result of that. And so Arizona just did it right the whole way through. I mean, and it's really surprising if people know anything about like the way that state is structured. It's a pretty red state. Like, I mean, I have plenty of friends that have spent plenty of time in Tent City out there.
In the pink and black stripes.
Totally. Like literally, like if you see the movie Holes, it's like a Disney movie, long time. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's not that far of a cry from what exists out there for like a single DUI or a drug charge. You're spending a weekend in Tent City. So all that even being said, they still were able to come out with one of the more successful medical cannabis programs in the country, and I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I see real quick, I see people off in the comments over here talking about our app, and just got the app but haven't used it. Michael Payton said, check it out. We can talk there. Just want to let everyone know, just like the esteemed Elon Musk is trying to do with Twitter, our DMs are encrypted end to end because we don't want to know what you're talking about either. So anyway, just throwing that out there to everybody on the app, letting you guys know. And yeah, real quick, Jason, who's joining us on the app right there? You got any shout outs?
Yeah, for sure. Say hi to Pumpkin and Mr. Wendell. Pumpkin and Mr. Wendell, they're very loyal supporters of our app, and high, as they put
Amongst
it,
our favorites.
and higher.
High and higher. That would be a decent movie that Seth Rogen should look into making.
And Hans 420.
There you go.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Right on. Well, so yeah, we mentioned some other upcoming events, and Hall of Flowers is coming up the soonest. I think we're going to be able to see each other there, but other than that, you're traveling for the next couple of weeks, so we'll miss you to the end of the month, I think.
Yeah,
remembering? Okay.
It'll be the last week. So next week's the Hall of Flowers event. Then there's the Green Street Festival the week after that, and then MJ Unpacked in New York. So the last week of May, we'll be back in the saddle. So
Nice.
Bummed out that I won't get to come hang with y'all, but hopefully I'll have some good stories to tell by the time I get back. Probably a couple more gray hairs in the beard too, more than likely. I will say though, the benefit of the travel though, I got to meet Steve Hawkins in person last week, and that was just like a cool moment. Super cool dude. Obviously we love him. He's great, but it was great to be able to spend some time actually talking with him and hanging out. So that was a pretty fun time for sure.
Nice. Didn't he say he was coming out here for the hall too?
I think
so.
He
said he might be coming out. Yeah. So
totally.
Maybe we can Palm Springs meet up, but I'll try to, for the channel, I'll try to get some behind the scenes footage while we're out there and whatnot when we link up in between. But we'll be showing.
Yeah, get me outside so we can roast a doink out there, man. I mean, let's get back to maybe coming live behind the scenes from the beanbags at Hall of Flowers. I'm with it, 100%.
Right on. Well, hey, thanks again for joining us on this one. Sure, we'll be talking to Steve Hawkins, not next week, but the week after. And John, as always, great to have you on. And shoot, unless I'm forgetting anything, Jason, I was just going to say, have a great, what was I forgetting? You know what? We've been calling out and in the comments, we've had some new people in the comments and that kind of stuff. And, if you could make sure to like, share, and subscribe, it really helps people find the conversation because, we're always trying to outdo the algorithms and get people to hear a little bit more about cannabis. So thank you very much for that, Mr. J, and throwing that up there. And after that, I knew I was forgetting something, right? So thanks a lot for that. And well, signing off from here, side of the 91 freeway. I want to tell everyone have a great weekend. And Jason, John, thanks a lot for being the better part of this show.
Absolutely, man. Y'all have a great weekend as well. Appreciate everyone tuning in.
All right, guys.
Right on.